All right, part 2 of my 50 favorite games of all time, video games. So last time I ended with number 40, which should have been on this list. So disregard that. Now was number 40, Snowboard Kids 2. So number 39 is Gears of War 3. Yeah, Gears of War 3, there's no way that this couldn't be on here. Like I was saying in the previous list, it is tough with online games because a lot of them I probably won't have the opportunity to play again. And they're kind of these games that are stuck in a moment of time. So like the original Gears of War, I try to replay again, and I realized that it really was that moment in time that I played Gears. And I think a lot of people have that multiplayer game that they play with their buddies, whether or not it be Call of Duty, Halo. I mean, there's so many different options. But mine was Gears of War 1 and 3 were the ones I played with my friends a lot. For some reason, I skipped 2. But I really just enjoyed, I think 3 was the pinnacle of the series. I enjoyed the storyline of 1 the most, just because it was really simple, and I liked that. It didn't go too crazy. But I still enjoyed 2 and 3's storyline. I think you could really put a placement there that it is, that they are better than 1. But gameplay-wise, 3 was definitely the best. And I remember all the maps. I remember I played pretty religiously back in the day, probably 500-600 hours in Gears 3, pretty easily, probably more than that. It's definitely one of my most played games of all time. I didn't play it as much as Gears 1, but I think I was better at Gears 3, and I think I just enjoyed it more hour per hour. So Gears 3, no doubt about it. Gears of War is like what I look forward to in a shooter, is that cover based. But after playing Splatoon 3, I think Splatoon 3 will, over time, take over Gears of War, which is pretty crazy to think about. I never thought my 20-year-old self would ever think that a game about octopuses and inklings and all that, and squids, would overtake the masculine Gears of War. But I'm a different guy now. So number 38 is Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2. Another 360 game. You know, I find that on this list, the majority of the games are from 360 and from Switch. I didn't do it on purpose. It's what I played the most. I think both systems are top 5 contenders for best game consoles of all time. I would honestly argue that Switch is the best console of all time. I know a lot of people would think that's ridiculous, but I would place PS1, 360, and Switch, and I think I might do a list for that, including handhelds and all that. But for me, a Switch is just it's just a perfect console. But 360 is so amazing. So Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth, played it all the time with my friends. I got it when it came out for the 360, and I'm a huge Lord of the Rings guy. I loved Return of the King on GameCube, and Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth had everything a Lord of the Rings fan would love and need, and each castle or each faction was really cool to play as. It was really cool to play online in that game on the 360. My dad would come down and watch me play, and it was an experience for my friends and I to all strategize, and sometimes a match would go on for 5-6 hours. And as far as a real-time strategy game goes, and that, that type of game, I think, combined, it's probably my favorite real-time strategy game. So then number 37 is Metal Gear Solid 1. I had a hard time placing some of these games because they're games that I had a really amazing time with. These single player experiences, and honestly, games I'd probably play again. But I just don't think that they go up against some games in my top 25, or maybe I just need to play them again in order to do it, or I play them in a specific time of life that because of that, I either beat them or I put a lot of hours into it. It wasn't necessarily something I wanted to do, just, with depression, anxiety, PTSD, whatever. Mental health symptoms or illnesses. A lot of people can relate that stuff gets derailed, or especially mental health. You're playing a game sometimes just because you're stuck in a spot in life and you can't really escape it. Sorry for the tangent, but it applies to the next game on my list. But Metal Gear Solid, I'm not a big Metal Gear Solid guy, but Metal Gear Solid 1 was just so straight to the point, very memorable characters, very memorable setting. And PS1 was just such a good console. It's funny how people kind of, when you go back and play games, or you have an affinity towards certain games and systems will be played by yourself at a later time. So, I didn't grow up with PS1, but I have an affinity towards it because I grew up with Sega and N64, and it's like PS1 was the missing puzzle piece. So now going back to it, or have been over the years, but not growing up with it, I get a greater appreciation for it. And Metal Gear Solid 1 is pretty much the definition of that generation of games. And I love Metal Gear Solid 1. Only beat it once though, so. For the next game on my list is Witcher 3. I got it the day it came out, and I played Witcher 2 a lot on the 360, and I ended up beating it almost twice. I got to the third act for the second time, but then I stopped playing it. But I beat it. I didn't choose to kill Letho because I liked him a lot, and I really liked the storyline of Witcher 2. It has, I think, the best part in any Witcher game is when you corner one of the kings, and you learn the truth about him, and that was in Witcher 2. Well, Witcher 3 was just overall the better experience. I thought it was the best game ever when I was playing it. But again, I was playing it because I was really depressed. And I put 500 hours into Witcher 3. I played it to death. I got every question mark. I did every side quest. And I was pretty done with it when the second DLC came out. So I never played the second DLC. But I played it religiously every day. My playtime was over 500 hours. I just played it to death. And it sadly is so low because I just played it so depressed. So I go back to those times of being really depressed and having suicidal ideations and just not doing the best. And Witcher 3 kind of reminds me of those times. So as much as I love it, I'm reminded of those times too much. And next game on my list is Over Battle 64. This is one of my brother's favorite games, and this, along with Shining Force and along with Fire Emblem, really defined that era of, and we played Risk on the Sega Genesis all the time, and we always loved strategy games. There were always Heroes of Might and Magic, Myth the Fallen Lords, like I said, Lord of the Rings, Battlefield Middle-earth 2. There's so many strategy games that you're going to see on this list. And Over Battle 64 was one of the kind of the Mount Rushmores of what defined strategy games for us. And I never beat it. I got really far, but I watched my brother beat it. I watched my brother play it a lot. I think he beat it. He played it nonstop for 24 hours. He just ate that game up. But it's always a game that I'm like, man, if we're talking about nostalgia and a game that I want ported, this is my number one choice for a game I want ported to modern systems. It is my number one choice by quite a large margin. I'd say the only other game that I want ported to modern systems is Xenogears and Vagrant Story. If these three games came out on modern consoles, I'd be pretty happy to be able to play them, and to play them as an adult with a different lens, because I think they're made for all audiences. But I think Over Battle 64, Xenogears, and Vagrant Story are made for adults. They can be played by kids, but some games you have a greater appreciation to understand the mind of the creator of the game as an adult more so than a kid. I think that might be obvious, but imagination's a big thing, so maybe not. Next one is Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2 for the GameCube. This was growing up in a nutshell. My sister and my brother played it to death. I remember there was one time my sister accused my brother of deleting her character. I don't think he ever did, but they were just so competitive back then. They have a little bit of competitiveness now, but not. They're more jovial about it. They're much funner with their competition now. They're like, oh, you won or whatever. But back then, it was like at the peak of our competition, and they played it so much, and their characters were good, but my characters sucked. They were like level 120 or something, and my character was level like 82, and he was a wizard, and I just did not know how to play him. But we played it a lot, and I would always resurrect them, but my character sucked. But I really, we played it a lot. I mean, I was level 82. As a kid, playing game for that long was something unfounded. So, yeah, I love Phantasy Star. Great game, but just sucked at it. Fallout 3 is my next game. Fallout 3, I put it over, I didn't play New Vegas. It was just the timing. I didn't play it. And when it first came out, people trashed on it. They did. So now it's regarded as arguably the best Fallout. But when it initially came out, people were trashing on it. They were. Everyone in my school was trashing on it. They were like, this isn't as good as Fallout 3, blah, blah, blah. But now the consensus is it is better than Fallout 3. And the consensus was also whatever Obsidian touches, they just make a worse sequel. But now there's a little bit of wiggle room with that, with Knights of the Republic 2 and Neverwinter Nights 2, and you have obviously Fallout New Vegas. And you could say that each one of those games is better than the original, or you could go with the original, but there's wiggle room with that. But Fallout 3, I just remember so fondly. Everyone in my school, again, played it like crazy. We were all talking about unlocks and different weapons they were using. I would always be a sneaky dude putting grenades in people's pockets. One kid called me out later in life, like maybe 3-4 years ago. I had said a story about the thing, and then this kid was like, yeah, you already told me that story. And I was like, all right, I'm going to retire that story. So I never said the story anymore, but I found it funny because he called me out, but it was in like in a funny manner. I couldn't stop laughing about it, and it was kind of funny that the kid called me out. So that was fun. But Fallout 3 was really a stellar game. And again, I don't want to go too deep into these lists. I could talk on and on about what I remember, but Fallout 3, playing it when it came out, and my buddy coming over with the game, and I was playing the next game on the list more than that game. And then I came around to Fallout 3 after buying it for Christmas, after he showed me it, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm happy that he came over and showed me it. I think I would have gotten it anyway, but it was a cool experience sharing that with my friend at the time. I'm still friends with him. One of the only friends I could say that about. But I really enjoyed this experience with him. So the next game is Fable 2. I had a hard time putting Fable 1 or Fable 2 on this list, and I don't think Fable 1 made it on this list. And that's just because I played it so much, and sometimes that happens. I don't think Arkham City's on this list either. Even though I beat it multiple times, I got all the achievements, I was high on the leaderboards, I played Arkham City to death. I really just want to, it's like a hidden rule on the internet. Sometimes you just want to put one game on the list, or if they're too common, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes I just want one spot on the list for one of these games, because you can just sum up, hey, I love Fable 1, I love Fable 2, Fable 3, meh. But I could say it right now. And Fable 2, if I were to go back to one of them, I'd play Fable 2. So, again, I was super psyched for Fable 2. It's one of the games I was most psyched for, and at first I wasn't a huge fan of it because it was kind of different from Fable 1, but in hindsight I think it reigned supreme. There was just more liveliness in the world, and I think Peter Molyneux does a good job with creating a world that feels like the computers kind of have a mind of their own. He does a really good job with that. So Fable 2 was a fantastic game. I would definitely play it today if I was able to, but I just have no way to play it. I really only play on my Switch now anyway, so if a game doesn't make its way over there, I probably won't be playing it. I noticed that several times I would purchase a game on Steam, like the Dead Space remake, Gears of War Reloaded, or whatever it's called now, the third remake. I have Dishonored that I would want to play again, Dishonored 2, Prey. There's a bunch of games on Steam that I want to play, but I'm not going to come around to it because I have to set my PC up, I have to set the controller up, I have to have a nice bright screen right next to my wife that's like triple, quadruple the size of my Switch. It's just a lot of unpacking and setting up, and I don't have time for that. So games can take a seat on the bench if it doesn't come down to being able to play it. So yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, so my next game and the final one for today's list is Resident Evil 4. I played it on the GameCube. Cool story with Resident Evil 4. I remember we rented it from Blockbuster. I had a friend over, and when we were renting it, we had rented Final Fantasy Advent Children, and then we rented this game, and we watched Advent Children, and I had no idea what the hell Final Fantasy 7 even was. Like, I knew about it, but I never played it, and everyone in my school played it. It was a very popular game. But Advent Children, I thought was good anyway. I had no context clues or anything, but I kind of still knew who Cloud and Sephiroth were. But the graphics were insane at the time, and I thought it was still a fun movie. But then we put in Resident Evil 4, and it was a new release at the time through rental, and I was like, oh man, like I'm so like really psyched to play it, because just looking at the cover art, and I never played a Resident Evil 4 or a Resident Evil game before that, and so I was even more psyched, and I had no clue what I was getting myself into. Same with my friend, that was his first Resident Evil, and then we popped it in, and we were like, dude, what? Like, blown away. On GameCube, this game looked next gen. Still does. It still looks good, just the original. And I remember we were playing it, and we got to the fish the mutated fish in the lake. We had no clue, kind of, again, context clues we were using to find out what was going on. But again, we didn't know who Leon was, but they did a good job of, like, you don't need to know who he is. We'll introduce him real well. Resident Evil 4 was fantastic. Again, it's another game on PC that I own, but I'm not gonna get around to play the remake. But it is on Switch. But I played it enough growing up that I'll let the memories be the memories. And that ends this list. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow and doing the next part of the list, because this next part of the list is really interesting. These games are the games that you'll see 20 and 10. You'll see, honestly, a lot of Switch games and games that I played more recently, because I played them as an adult, choosing to play them. They weren't a game that I was like, I had to play because I owned it. They were games that I went out had to battle through several games to pick through these ones and find the gems that align with me. And that is very rare nowadays, because I choose story and atmosphere over, really, story. Story is the big one. Story is the big one. And it's going to be a story that hits certain marks. While these upcoming games are more games that really align with me in my early adult life, that still hold a nice place in my heart, but I have moved on from them because they're not really gameplay wise what I look for now, which is the big one. You know, it's like story and gameplay, perfect. That's what I'm, that's the perfect blend. But the games, like pretty much 20 and more, are games that just hit certain marks better than these upcoming games, which used to be my favorite games of all time, but have steadily gone down the list, which is sad, but I've changed as the years go, and I expect more people do the same. So thank you for joining me on this list, and I'll see you tomorrow.